Hello again. Welcome back. My name is it's Aaron. We have a mug of coffee. Although today I'm drinking not a mug of coffee. I've been sick for about a week, so if my voice starts crackling or doing weird things, it's because of that. And my apologies for that. But I wanted to get this video together and I wanted to impress all of you with my knowledge of lessons. I am actually drinking water with lemon and a little bit of salt. I have about a half a cup to go, and then you'll know. What is today's topic? I bet you can't guess. Growing up in the 80s, of course. Story time today is about a funny story. And all the lessons that come with it. Remember how in the last video I was telling you that I grew up in this house that had a humongous backyard? Well, part of having a humongous backyard and two other brothers is that we got to help our father keep that sucker nice and manicured. Because my dad, well, he was an architect and he built the entire backyard. He brought in all the dirt, filled it all in, made some hills, made some privacy hills, put in a giant sandbox for us. At one point, he actually cut a section and created a little mini green once we got old enough because we started playing golf so that we could practice our putting and our chipping in our own backyard. So this story is when I was also younger. I was in my 9th year of living. It was a warm early July. And my brothers and I were out in the backyard mowing, cutting, trimming, piling up bags of clippings, doing all the yard work we possibly could. And on this particular day, it was a screeching day. It was heat, hot. We're out there sweating, drinking out of the garden hose, just making life as busy and messy as we could. So it comes down that at some point in the afternoon, our dad comes stumbling out of the house and he's got on his super short shorts, the jean shorts back in the day. He's got no shirt on. He's got a smoke in his mouth. He's got a beer can in his hand. And he walks out because he's going to come out and inspect our work. Thankfully, on this particular day, my older brother took charge of the weed whacker because that thing was a little bit frightening for me when I was a kid. And of course, I'm only 9, so it was really hard for me to keep that thing steady and even and cutting and trimming, and I was terrible at it. Pushing a mower, I mean, it's still heavy as a mug when I was a kid, but it was much more manageable than the weed whacker. And starts inspecting what we're up to. I mean, honestly, he approves everything we do because he's our dad and we've just literally mowed a 150-yard backyard. 100 to 100 on one side, one corner to one corner, but at the same time, you still have the rest of the dimensions of this ginormous yard that we called our backyard. So my older brother at that point turns off the weed whacker, walks over to the garden hose, fires it all, and starts drinking from it. And my dad is like, running around, and he lets the dogs out of the back because they are usually penned up in our ginormous sandbox area where our clubhouse is. And the dogs live in the clubhouse because it's just one of those things. Didn't have dog houses, but we had a giant clubhouse where our dogs lived in there. So my dad goes and he lets the dogs out because now he's okay with the yard the way it is, and we're not got the machines on anymore, so they can run around and mess with us and all good stuff. And so our dogs' names are Bear and AJ. Bear is a black lab, and AJ was an Irish setter. But he comes bawling over to me, and we're petting the dogs, and then they run over towards Brian, and Brian sprays them with the hose, and then gives them some water in their bowls because it's hot. It's a hot day out. And then, the next thing we know, water's being sprayed at everybody, and, we're all kind of relaxing and having a good time and having a talk with Pops. And then Dad comes, and, my brother, being the, older of the three of us, he kinks up the hose, and my dad starts talking to him. And as I get closer, my brother, as usual, picks on me. So he unhooks the hose, and he fires some water and it just splashes all over me, and I wasn't expecting it, and I kind of scream at him, and he yells back about whatever, and my dad's like, hey, don't you guys, blah, blah, blah. So I run over towards Dad to try and stop Brian from shooting me again, and he kinks the hose again. And my dad, not knowing, is, standing there, and my brother, he walks towards my brother, and my older brother in like 3, 2, 1 kind of style lets it go and runs away from the hose. As our dad approached, the hose goes all over the place. It's splashing around, and we start running, and my dad goes and shuts off the hose. Rightfully so, doesn't want to pay for all that extra water. And what we don't know is that our dad, when he was out wandering around the yard, had actually set up a bunch of water balloon buckets. And so we ran around the yard, we find these water balloon buckets, and my dad, everyone's just chucking water balloons, and they finding water balloons, and I got a water balloon from the top somewhere, like up above, boom, hits me in the head. I'm like, where did that water balloon come from? No one's that tall. And so I look up, and I spot my younger brother up on top of the clubhouse, and I'm like, hey, here's the plan. I'm going to go get the older brother, and I'm going to chase him down here, and then you can beat him because he keeps picking on us. And he's like, yeah, sounds good. And I give him a code word, and the code word is shotgun. And so I'm like, all right, I'll be back. I got to run around the front of the house to find him. So I go run up past the sumac trees in between our house and our neighbor's house, and I get out front. Well, we have a little crabapple tree out front, and it's the best and the worst thing. They taste terrible most of the year, but they're also really fun to throw at each other because there's a little bit of pain when you throw a crabapple at your brother. Also, it pisses your brother off, just so you know, and you might want to not do that sometimes. Throw things at your older brother who is bigger and stronger and might beat you up. So I grab a couple of the crab apples. I got my water balloons. I'm running around the corner. I run out past the garage. I sprint around the corner, and guess who I run into the back of? Yep, you guessed it, my older brother. I bounce off of the guy that I'm looking for, and he turns and he yells at me because I've just run into him without really noticing he was there. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, damn, I was looking for you. And then I just chuck a crab apple at him, and it hits him in his chest. And now I've run into my brother and thrown crab apples at him, and now he's extra mad. So I'm like, sweet, he's mad, and he goes to grab me, and I run by him, and I run down past the little mini hill where we ski and the parts of our deck, and I'm running down the hill, and I'm thinking Andy's up on the roof, and he's going to toss balloons at Brian, and it's going to be great and marvelous, and the two younger brothers are picking on the older brother, and life is going to be great in the summertime. I go booking down the hill. I almost stumble into the small hill, and I seemingly keep my feet, jump over the hill. I yell shotgun. Andy doesn't appear. Uh-oh, where's the other brother? I'm like, uh-oh. Now I got a big pissed brother behind me. I'm missing a little brother, and I'm now in super duper trouble. So I hit the brakes, thinking my older brother's not going to pay attention to the fact that I'm going to hit my brakes. He goes sprinting past me. I spin around, and I go back the direction I came. I go up the big hill, onto the deck, into our house, and I lock the door. And my brother's pretty much right behind me, and he catches up, and he's like, what are you doing? And he's yelling at me through the pane of glass. And so he jumps down the deck, and he's running to the front of the house, and I'm like, oh, I know he's going through the garage. So I go and lock the garage door in the mudroom, and I run downstairs because I'm trying to now escape a pissed off brother, and I'm trying to find the other brother to figure out what happened. So I get downstairs, and our downstairs is a patio level, so it runs out into a back patio. So I open up the back door, and lo and behold, my dad and my younger brother are down there on the patio. And I'm like, hey, what happened? What are you guys doing? And they're sitting there, And my dad is compressing my younger brother's knee with towels, and there's blood. And I'm like, what the heck happened? So I stop and start breathing, and I'm grabbing the hose to get some water. And here comes Brian around the other corner, and he sees all of us down on the patio. So he comes down, and he's like, huffing and puffing, and he's pissed, and he wants to just basically rip my head off. And so my dad is like, hey, what is going on here? Blah, blah, blah. And we're like, well, what happened to Andy? So then we get the story that my younger brother was peeking over the top of the clubhouse, and he was trying to spot Dad. And then he threw some balloons at him, which caught my dad off guard. And then my dad tried to sneak around the backside of the clubhouse because he was going to throw balloons at Andy. So what happens is Andy is up on the roof, and he's trying to scoop down the roof because it's kind of a slanted roof. And my dad goes around the backside, and he's going to spook his kid. And so my little brother pops up because he wants to jump off the roof, and my dad spooks him, hits him with the water balloon, and Andy, forgetting that the roof is slanted, spins to try and get away, and then slipped and fell and hit his knee and cut it up. And then my dad, of course, is helping my brother because he injured himself. And then the rest of us are obviously being chased by the other one because we set up a plan to, ambush him. And now here we all are talking. So then I start explaining the story about the ambush, and that turns into its own little fiasco. So the fiasco then outplays, and my dad looks at us and goes, so you guys were going to team up on your older brother in order for your older brother to be punished by the two of you because of whatever reason. And we're both like, yeah. And then my brother, the older, says to my dad, but you forgot about the part, Aaron, where you ran into me and then threw crab apples at me and then ran away from me. And my dad looks at us and goes, oh, well then, I have an idea. How about we find all the rest of the water balloons and you guys can throw them at each other until they're gone. And I'm like, I don't really want to be beamed in the back by my older brother because he's much stronger than I am. And, my dad's like, so what do you guys want to do? Do you want to, do I make you do something else, or do you guys want to throw balloons at each other, or, I can come up with some other kind of punishment for the fact that you're trying to pick on your older brother? And I'm like, no, that's fine, whatever, fine, let's throw water balloons. So my dad goes and he finds the rest of the buckets and he brings them all back and he finds that there's 10 water balloons. So we get 5 each. So what he does is he counts off a space, and one of us has to line up against what is a set of railroad ties. And the set is like 8 feet tall. So you go and you stand, hands out, stand there, and the one person gets to beam you with a water balloon. But they're a good 10, 15 feet behind you. Right? So it's not like a very close shot. It's far enough that if they miss, they miss. And if they hit you, you get hit with a water balloon at a decently high speed pace. So in this particular case, we both also played baseball. But I was a pitcher and my older brother was a third baseman. So his accuracy only had to be to across the field to somebody else catching a ball, where I had to hit a catcher every single pitch. Back then, I wasn't a super pitcher, but I was a decent pitcher. I was also only 9 years old, so how much power do I really got at 10 feet, 15 feet away from somebody else? And it's water. It's not like I'm throwing a crab apple. So we pace off. I'm the first one up at the wall. My brother throws one. It zits past my head. It smashes. I'm like, ooh, that could have hurt. And then I go back. And I throw, but I figure I'm throwing for the middle of his back. So I hit him in the middle of the back. Good enough. We switch. He throws another streamer right past my head. We switch. I hit him in the back. We switch. Another one past my head. We switch. I hit him in the back again. So at this point, 3-0 is the case. So then my brother smartens up and he puts one right in between my shoulder blades. And I'm like, fair enough that he gets me at least once. Maybe twice, because he's still got another balloon. So then we switch, and I throw, and I miss just over one of his shoulders, and So then my dad is like, okay, so are you guys done with this or do you want to continue with your last balloon? And I'm like, no, no, I'm fine, Dad. Let's, whatever Brian wants. We can throw the last one or we can just call it a day. And so my dad says, well, it hasn't been very fair so far because obviously Aaron's a little bit better at throwing the balls than Brian is. So how about we settle this with an arm wrestle? And I'm like, how am I going to beat him? He's, whatever. Like, this is all right, whatever. I got nothing, right? I can either beat him again with a water balloon, which is going to piss him off some more. Or I can have an arm wrestle and I'm going to lose because I'm the smaller kid. So I just say, whatever Brian wants. And Brian says, fine, let's arm wrestle. And he knows he's going to crush me in this arm wrestle. So we go and we sit down at the packed patio. We set up. Dad lines us all up. We get our arms in there. I'm like, whatever. This is done. This is done before we even lock hands. We lock hands. He smashes my arm against the table. It hurts. Rightfully so. I, threw a crab apple at him. My pain is his pain. So then the loser of the arm wrestling competition then gets to do what everybody really wanted, more chores. So I got to do my brother's chores for an entire week because I threw a crab apple at my brother. Hey, thanks for watching. See you again.